Okay, we've had a lot of talk in all the EU discussions, and I suspect a deal is going to appear early next week, I think, Sunday, Monday. But there's been a lot of talk about fishing, and the Royal Navy apparently is preparing for 3 of its quite small little warships to defend the fishermen. And this brought back echoes to me of this book that I must have picked up perhaps in Trinity Street Station bookstall in Bolton, somewhere like that, in 1961. So I was reading this when I was about 12 or 13. It's called The Fleet That Had to Die by Richard Hoff. And it's about the Russian fleet that set sail from St. Petersburg in 1904 and sailed all the way, or half the way around the world, and was then defeated by the Japanese fleet at the Battle of Tsushima in 1905. And it's an amazing story, because these ships were coal-fired. The Russians didn't have any ports en route, so they had to do deals with friendly powers. There weren't too many of those. But there was a famous incident in October 1904 when the fleet was coming down the North Sea and went through the area of the Dogger Bank. The Dogger Bank was a famous and favourite fishing ground. Now, the Russian admiral was conscious that Britain and Japan were allies. They'd allied 2 years earlier, and a lot of Japanese warships had been built in British shipyards. In fact, one of them, Admiral Togo's flagship Tsushima, is still preserved in Japan. And the Admiral was conscious that he could be attacked by Japanese torpedo boats that were more either stationed in Norway, goodness knows why, or Denmark, or Britain. So the fleet was on high alert, and they were obviously all very tense. Searchlights were flicking over the Dogger Bank, looking, because no radar, so just searchlights, and this was at night, and they came across what they thought were Japanese torpedo boats. They were actually British trawlers from Hull, but the Russians didn't wait to check on that. The statements they all received and sent to the flagship were Japanese, Japanese, Japanese. So they opened fire. You know, the battleships opened fire, morning with their big 12-inch guns, and several British trawlers were sunk. Men were killed. The fleet carried on through the English Channel and then headed for the French coast. By the time the British trawlers that survived had got back to Hull, the news was then relayed to London, to the Foreign Office, and I think Lord Lansdowne, Foreign Secretary, refused to believe them. And he said, "Where's your evidence?" One of the chaps produced a bit of shrapnel that had landed on the boat. So Lansdowne then said, "Okay, well, we must do something." So the British Home Fleet, the British Mediterranean fleets were ordered to meet, I think the Mediterranean fleet to Gibraltar, and there was a strong possibility that Britain and Russia could go to war over this. Men had been killed. There was no proper apology from the Russian government. It was known as the Dogger Bank incident, and I thought you might be interested in what Huff wrote in this book, which I think is a little bit relevant to where we are just at the moment. He says, "To the British, the fishermen, battling in all weathers to bring the catch home, facing unknown hazards to fill the nation's larders, had always been the heroic heroic symbol of a heritage. All the school books said so. Isn't that where we are with the Brexit? It's all about fishing. Fishing. Even though today perhaps there's fewer fishermen than there were in 1904. So there we are, the Dogger Bank incident.